The City of Surrey recognizes that we are in a state of emergency due to extortion, which have plagued our city.
We've got a lot going on here today. Welcome back to Moose on Loose. My name's David. Today, we've got a state of emergency in the City of Surrey. Extortion is out of control. Parliament withholding information from the PBO. We've got a ton of stuff. Let's jump into this. We've got the food professor coming out with this. Breaking gene-edited pigs considered safe to eat by Health Canada will be available soon in Canadian grocery stores. This is a real story. So food professor followed up on this, said Health Canada has now decided, this is coming from the CBC here, Canadian and UK companies applied to bring products made from virus-resistant pigs to market. Food made from pigs engineered to be resistant to porcine virus are as safe and nutritious to eat as pork currently on the market, says Health Canada. Now really, the people should decide, but that's the problem here is the people won't get to decide because they won't know which type of pork is what in the grocery store. This is outrageous. We must be informed. We should be able to choose what we put in our bodies, and that's just it. This should be labeled. This is the meat cloning fiasco all over again, yeah. Or glued meat, where they take those chunks and they glue it together and try to create steaks that aren't real steaks. It's Health Canada for you. Meanwhile, what's Mark Carney up to? A whole lot of nothing. That's right. Meeting people from Team Canada? Yeah, a whole lot of nothing. He got a jersey, though. We got Cosman posting this. Liberal online news streaming bills are now on the U.S. trade deal chopping block. Liberal government caved to U.S. negotiators after facing pressure to make concessions on two significant pieces of legislation. Cosman pointing this out, it'll be deliciously hilarious when the Liberals toss legacy media under the bus by completely neutering the Online News Act as part of trade concessions. Of course, the Francophone media remains well protected. The Libs can't afford to lose them. We also have Melanie Joly talking to a delegate from South Korea. They're trying to sell us their submarines once again. We've also got the PBO telling us that the government is hiding information from them. At this point, are we really surprised?
I think in general, there was sort of a wide range in the level of detail that we received from those organizations.
For Canadians who are watching this, can you explain just how difficult it makes it for you guys to do your job when you don't get fulsome information from departments, or you get partial information, or you get this department gives you the full gambit of information, but this department only gives you a little bit of this, and then this department gives you nothing? Like, how hard does it make it for you to actually do your job as the PBO when you don't get consistent access to information from departments?
I think it's definitely challenging when we have issues with access to data. I think in the field that we are, more data is always better.
I would say it would save everybody a lot of time and effort if the government adopted an open by default approach.
This is coming from the Parliamentary Budget Office, which needs data to do their job, and they're being restricted data by the Carney government. That's where we are today. Moving ahead, we have Conservative Raquel Dancho saying the CEO of one of the largest employers in Canada's auto sector is calling Carney's capitulation on Chinese EVs a slippery slope. As we see here from the Wall Street Journal, it's coming from the CEO of GM. Thousands of electric vehicles from Chinese automakers can enter Canada. We know 49,000 a year, and then that goes upwards to whatever, 70-something thousand. And she says, make no mistake, Chinese EVs are a security risk and an economic threat. Prime Minister does not understand this or does not care. Oh, he cares. He wants those in here because he needs it to pump the value of his Stripe shares. I remember when Conservatives embraced the free market. Does it really serve the Canadian automaker or consumer to have big government stand in the way of competition? See, you can't use that as an argument when it's a threat to national security. That's the problem. These Chinese EVs are essentially just little surveillance machines on wheels. If China was just importing cars that were all old style cars without technology, then it wouldn't pose the same risk. Moving ahead, we got some polling data here. We're doing this later on because we've got a segment here, Nick Nanos, and we're going to contradict this with some other polling data that just came out.
Well, in the latest Nanos tracking, it's only 4 percentage points between the Liberals and the Conservatives, 39-35, the NDP back at 12. And that 12 number for the NDP is not good for Pierre Poilievre. He needs the NDP to do better to split that progressive vote. But, you look at the numbers and, the election was close in terms of popular vote. It's still relatively close and competitive.
A lot, right? Those top, they've stayed pretty close, the two parties, since the election.
Absolutely. It's been a horse race for the last year.
What hasn't remained close are the preferred PM numbers. So tell us where those are at right now. And again, important to note, you were out in the field last week, post Davos.
That's right. So this is after Mark Carney's speech, after Donald Trump's speech, and kind of rolls up the numbers in terms of who Canadians would prefer as prime minister. Check out these numbers, Vashi. 53-25, a 28-point advantage for Mark Carney on the preferred prime minister front. And, his numbers went up last week coming off of his Davos trip.
Have you seen a spread that wide in recent memory?
Yeah, actually, when Pierre Poilievre and Justin Trudeau were around, Poilievre, and that's the kicker here, Vassy. A year ago when Justin Trudeau stepped down, Pierre Poilievre was first as prime minister, probably a 15-point advantage, and had a 20-point advantage in the ballot numbers. Fast forward a year later, and one leader has a massive advantage in terms of preferred prime minister, but there's no massive advantage for that same party, the Liberals, when it comes to ballot support.
So I find...
Now, the reason for this, Mark Carney has his image of Mr. Banker, Governor of the Bank of England, Governor of the Bank of Canada. People aren't doing any research into Carney. They're not looking at anything else. They just see some stuff like on CTV or CBC, and they're like, oh yeah, he must be steady hand and vote for the guy. That's where we are. Clearly, many Canadians think he's probably fine. They don't know really much about Carney, but they don't like the Liberals. They don't like Justin Trudeau, all the corruption. So they like Carney, but they don't like the Liberals. That's where we're at today. Looking further into his numbers here, we can see jobs in the economy are the top ones here. Trump, U.S. relations, inflation, healthcare, environment, etc., all the way down as the top issues. Now, we're looking at this graph. This is over from 2015. So this is the past 10 years, the Liberals rule here. And these are all the different things. Inflation, green, healthcare, red. Blue line here, the light blue one, that's jobs in the economy. The big black one here, that's Donald Trump. And as we see this going downwards, Donald Trump is becoming less and less important to Canadians. Zooming in on it, we can see here, this black line is Donald Trump, and over time, it's just becoming less of an important issue as well. The blue line here is jobs in the economy. People are hurting. So clearly a large portion of the population doesn't understand who Mark Carney is, a globalist banker that's just here to rip us off, and think he's a steady hand, but they don't like the Liberals. That's why you get the big split of preferred prime minister. And that's why we see here, long term, we see the Justin Trudeau's numbers go down, and then as soon as he resigns, boom, they basically place Carney way up here because he's an unknown character to them. He's got his resume, and that's about it. Now, scrolling down here, they have some interesting charts here. So here we've got Justin Trudeau, and then Carney comes in. And so they basically placed Carney at the same level as Justin Trudeau back when he won the election. Actually, slightly bit lower. Carney sat at 63. Trudeau was almost 70. Comparing that to the Conservatives here over time, Stephen Harper all the way through to Pierre Poilievre. And when Poilievre came in, which is back right around here, he came in higher than Aaron O'Toole and right around the same level as Andrew Scheer, but then continued to rise all the way almost up to 60. Carney comes in, and that's what this drop is here. People are like, okay, good. Now I can vote for someone else. That Justin Trudeau guy is gone. We got a lot of swing voters. Maybe they thought Poilievre was too far to the right. Then they could go for Mr. Banker, who positioned himself as Mr. Centrist at the time. Turns out he's just a net zero banker running the Brookfield Party of Canada, trying to enrich his Brookfield stocks. But Canadians didn't know that. A lot of them still don't know that. We've got the NDP here, Tom Mulcair, Jagmeet Singh. It'd be interesting to have Jack Layton on here. He would be higher than all three of them. And that's a problem. We need a good NDP leader to pull those people back. Someone who's going to be up at least where Tom Mulcair is here, like 60 or so. And then we've got the Bloc here. Nothing's going to change with Blanchette. And the Green Party. Nobody cares. Who are all these people? Nobody knows. And the PPC. Okay.
Both of these things are very fascinating. The fact that the parties can be so close, the Conservative leader can be at such a disadvantage to the Liberal leader, but his party's not losing because of that, and the Liberals aren't gaining because of the advantage Mark Carney has. How do you explain that?
Well, I think what's clear is that people still don't like the Liberals. Why don't we just say it straight out? Their leader, Mark Carney, is massively more popular than the Liberal brand, and the political fortunes for that party are firmly around Mark Carney. And for the Conservatives, they just want change. They hate the Liberals. They want the Liberals out of power. And I'm not sure if many Conservative voters care who the leader is, because let's face it, Poilievre trails his party by 10 points, and Carney is ahead of his party in double digits. So there you go.
So let's talk.
Give Nano some credit here. He actually said the quiet part out loud that nobody likes the Liberals. This is the truth. Aside from the diehards, and then Carney was able to fearmonger, scare, and get people to vote for him. But a bunch of those people will not vote for him the next time around.
A little bit about the Conservative leadership race, because I know it's a different beast insofar as this is the party itself and members who are delegates, voting delegates who attend, and obviously there's a big portion of the Conservative base that is extremely supportive of Mr. Poilievre. I can't find many people who think he's not going to be able to, get a number that's high enough to retain his leadership. When you look ahead at his leadership, what kinds of things will you be watching for?
Well, first of all, we're going to have to see what the number is, because I think he won the leadership with about 70% of the vote or thereabouts.
I think it was higher.
Higher? Yeah. But,
it was 70.70. Nanos was right.
The thing is that the bigger the number for Pierre Poilievre, the better for him. And obviously, he would like to have a big mandate from his own members in order to wage war against Mark Carney. So, I think he would probably hope that he can get 80% support in our leadership vote, and he should get a good number because there's no counterpoint. There's no one in the weeds looking to knife him in the back. There's no alternative to Pierre Poilievre. And, whether you like or dislike the guy, he's been working hard. He's been working the phones hard. He's been canvassing with his members. He's been out and mobilizing votes for this leadership vote, which is critical for him.
Just before
I'll give Nanos credit here. He's been pretty fair this panel. It's true. There's nobody gunning for Poilievre. He's going to easily get a huge number. What is that number? We don't know. If he gets more than 70, that'll be a big show, especially if it's up in the 80s. Then that'll really send a message. We'll see what happens here in the next few days. But the Liberals are scared of Poilievre. That's why they keep attacking him and trying to get him to leave, because they're scared of the guy.
As you go, I wanted to ask a little bit about the issue sets that are important to Canadians right now and how they might kind of intersect with the types of announcements we'll be seeing from both the government and the opposition. But in particular, this week, we were just talking to Minister McKinnon about the affordability announcement yesterday, aimed at boosting the GST rebate. What are Canadians telling you about what matters to them right now?
Well, it's kind of like a trinity of issues that are driving people's concerns, jobs in the economy and Donald Trump and inflation. And, the thing is what we do know from the polling is that Carney does have the advantage when people are focused on Trump and U.S. relations. And Poilievre has the advantage when the focus is on the cost of living, groceries and stuff like that. And it probably explains what happened this week for the Liberals. Like, let's face it, can their leader do better? I'm not sure. They're only 4 points ahead of the Conservatives. That's probably why the Liberals are trying to get into issues like inflation, the cost of living. But it's going to be tough. Do you know why? Because Pierre Poilievre was ahead of the Liberals on this issue. He has a brand built around this. And, whenever
He's been ahead of all of the issues. He called out the inflation crisis years ago, and he was absolutely right on it. And the Liberals just keep running our country into the ground by spending $90 billion. They keep making the problem worse. And Canadians are like, oh, well, he's a banker. He probably knows what he's doing. No, time to do some research or don't vote. I don't think people who don't know what's going on in our political system here should vote. Only people who know the candidates should vote.
The focus is on the cost of living and inflation. It benefits the Conservatives.
Do the Liberals need to actually own that issue, or do they just need to blunt their vulnerability on it?
I think they need to blunt their vulnerability. They have to be competitive. And you know what? The same thing is true for Pierre Poilievre. He doesn't need to win on Trump and tariffs, but he needs to be more competitive in terms of an alternative vision to show that he is a potential prime minister in waiting.
Okay, Nick?
I think Pierre needs to come up with a big new vision, huge changes, a grand vision for the future of Canada, not just little tax cuts and different policies here and there, but something big, a big change for the future of Canada, because that's what we need. And then bring in all that other stuff from the election, whether it's, pre-zoning the different areas for mines or whatever it may be, so people can buy the land, they can get to work. All that stuff is great, but have a bigger, grander vision, absolutely slashing taxes so Canadians are not getting completely drained. Some big, bold moves for Canada. I think that's what would really pull in voters. Now, to contrast that, we have this data here coming from Angus Reid, the same period, and we're seeing 41 to 38, and you're seeing +4 here on the NDP. So NDP getting their support back. Some people starting to rally there. They're getting excited about there's 3 candidates there that are basically in that horse race. It comes down to it. It doesn't matter that there's a preferred prime minister, all that stuff. People don't vote on that. You don't vote for the prime minister. You vote for the party. And, well, it's almost in a dead heat. And as Nick Nanos just mentioned, the Conservatives are always leading on all these important issues like jobs, the economy, immigration, all this stuff, crime. And what do we have? Canada's middle class, richest in the world. Sounds good, right? Well, turns out this article, though, it's from 2014 when Stephen Harper was in power. 10 years ago, we had a better middle class than America. A new analysis from New York Times published on Tuesday suggests Canada's middle class has leapfrogged middle income earners to the south and is now the richest middle class earning cohort in the world. And the Liberals ruined that. And what do we see today? Massive amounts of extortion in Surrey, to the point where, as it says here, breaking, Surrey City Council is calling on the federal government to declare a state of emergency to address the escalating extortion crisis. Before we play that clip, we've got Mario commenting on this, saying 500 Surrey citizens want to fast track to get their PAL, their license for their pew-pew, so they can protect themselves from extortion. The mayor wants this declared a state of emergency. The Liberals have no problem declaring Emergencies Act against protesters. Will they do the same against criminals that are destroying our great nation? That's a great question. And this is not hocus pocus. You can see right here, Office of the Mayor. This is coming from from mayor@surrey.ca, the city of Surrey. I'm urging the federal government to take full leadership and declare a state of emergency or invoke equivalent extraordinary measures to tackle the extortion crisis affecting communities across Canada. Surrey is facing serious and growing crisis of organized extortion, intimidation, targeted pew-pew events. Residents and business owners are living in constant fear. Public safety is at risk. Despite police and provincial efforts, these crimes are not stopping. Surrey's entering the third year of this crisis, and we need full-scale national response. The federal government must act now to give authorities the additional tools needed to protect our community and restore public safety. This is the state of Canada. They've let in so many terror lords from Africa, from South Asia, gangsters coming in, and you have rampant extortion. They knock on the door in your house and say, give us money or we're going to pew-pew you. We'll be back tomorrow. And if you don't give them money, they start sending lead through your house. Same thing with businesses. This is what the Liberals have done to our country. And yet people are like, oh, let's vote for the Liberals again, because it hasn't affected them yet. What happens if these people go over to the Rockcliffe area and start sending lead through those homes? Would things change?
Extortion-related violence has reached a breaking point in Surrey. Council has now approved a motion aimed at ramping up their efforts to combat it. Andrew McPherson joins us from Surrey City Hall with the latest on this. Andrew, tell us about this new motion.
The motion was passed unanimously last night, asking the federal government to declare a state of emergency for the city of Surrey due to the ongoing extortion-related crimes and violence here.
Therefore, be it resolved and moved that the city of Surrey recognizes that we are in a state of emergency due to the extortion and extortion-related violence which have plagued our city.
Locke also reiterated the need for a national extortion commissioner to oversee a coordinated response with unanimous support from council. The mayor will now put the requests in writing to senior levels of government and police agencies as well.
The city of Surrey is experiencing an acute and escalating crisis of organized extortion, intimidation, and targeted shootings resulting in fear, trauma, and economic harm to residents and business owners.
City staff have also been directed to report any developments to council within 30 days, as Mayor Brenda Locke will be discussing her recommendations at an upcoming federal meeting in Ottawa.
And here we are today. I mean, even in Mark Carney's riding of Nepean is become a crime hotspot. He doesn't care. He doesn't live there. Once again, if all these criminals went over to Rockcliffe and were in his neighborhood, maybe he would do something about it. Looks like we need our own ICE to round up people and start deporting them back to where they came from. I think we should jail these people and extract value from them and then send them back. For example, if they pew-pew somebody's house, put them in jail for 5 years, get them building widgets. After their 5 years, then you stick them on a plane and you send them back. You make sure they pay for their plane ride home as well as fixing everything that they broke. Stop importing the problem. CPC would win landslide majority on anti-immigration platform. So with all this going on, it's not surprising to see from the latest Nanos poll, this is Greater Vancouver, it is turning all blue. This is Surrey right here. So all this area is going conservative because, well, the crime is so bad. Vote Liberal if you want your land acknowledgements and free deed transfers to the tribes.